For the next about 10 minutes, I thought I'd walk you through. Some of you already have access to your online planners, and so this is going to maybe feel a little redundant or you kind of already know. But I thought I'd give you some of the key components that make it function, because we do get a lot of similar questions about them. And for all of you who haven't seen it yet, this is a great sort of view into what you can expect. I will say we send them about 5 months out, and that is by design. What we've determined is that every time we have an event, we will identify, maybe a timing thing goes off sideways, or there's something that doesn't kind of go perfectly, and we're able to assess, is that a question that we could have asked in the online planner that we actually could have avoided? And the beauty of the online planner version that you get by waiting till it's about 5 or 6 months out is that it reflects all the possible questions that we ever could have considered asking for every event leading up to yours. So that's why you don't get it. We just want to make sure that it's the most intelligent and kind of developed version. You will notice in the upper right corner, you want to make sure that that is the profile that you have been invited under. And if you can't open it immediately, it might be, for example, if you share your device with another person, or you're on your work Gmail, that might be why you can't see it. So this is in the upper right here where you'd want to look and just make sure you've got the right profile. You can always click that and manage and add an account and change who's accessing so that you can see it. You can also see here who's sharing, who else is able to see your document, and this is an opportunity to make sure, are all my vendors on there? Do I need to add anybody? Things like that. Anything that's highlighted in this kind of gray-purple color, those are locked. Our staff will do those edits, and it just kind of helps us make sure that we're holding you within the confines of the terms of the contract. And anything that's in this nice kind of bright, get your attention blue, is to either give you a nice reminder, something that we really want to stand out so that you notice that note, or it's a place where we might use that throughout the course of filling in that document to ask you some questions. The top is hopefully very easy. You're going to know your names and contact information, things like that. It is nice to get us the name of the decision maker for the day and all the contact information for them. The last thing we want to do is bother you during your wedding day with questions. So if we can be asking somebody else, that's how we'd much prefer to do it. But there are some nice captions along the right that I do think those captions along the right are your opportunity to almost hear what we would be whispering or saying to you while you were accessing that document if we were sitting there with you. So these are little things that are like, for example, here's where, as you're building your timeline, these are some suggested times that you might consider hosting the ceremony, for example. This timeline I would recommend is something that evolves over the course of having the conversations with all of your vendors. Your vendors are going to start to feed you information, and that information is going to, for example, hair and makeup. The hair and makeup timeline is going to really affect how you fill in the rest of this, whether or not you're doing a first look. Those kinds of things are going to help you determine what this timeline needs to look like, and this is something that you can play with and evolve. Every time you make an addition to it, it's automatically live saving to this version. You don't have to hit save. You don't have to download it and make any changes to it. What you've done there, we can now see on our end. And then if you decide to change your mind later, as long as about a week out, we are going to lock it so that you can't make any more changes to it, because at that point, we want to be alerted if anything's changed. Then we have a great area to provide all the vendor information. There's so much that we're able to do with this information. First of all, it allows us to be the ones to hunt down any certificates of insurance or vendor agreements that we need if it's a vendor that hasn't worked in the space before. We don't want that to be on your to-do list, and we're very proficient at taking care of that. So it's nice for us to get this information and have the information that we need to contact those folks. It's also great for us to know what time they're scheduled to arrive. We don't offer official planning services, but we can help make sure, like we can contact the person who's responsible for the day and say, looks like 3 o'clock, the caterer was supposed to be here and it's 3:30. Should we be concerned, or have you heard from them? So it's nice for us to just have that information so that we can help stay on top of everything. The other thing that's great about this is when it's time for us to share your gallery, it is so easy for us to accurately tag all of your vendors, and we really like to do that. So that information is all in one great place. Here's another spot where there's some great sort of notes that I would recommend. Read it all like a love letter, like you don't want to miss a single word. Maybe it won't apply to you, but certainly if it does, you'll be glad that you took the minute to just read it. So these are some different questions. So these are all ceremony-related questions. And again, you'll kind of work through this. It's kind of a logic trail through from ceremony. We then go to the reception. It's pretty chronological. Along the way, there are either areas where you can fill in information or they're drop-downs. The drop-downs, part of why we've created those is because it's very helpful for you to make decisions when it's actually a limited number of options instead of just picking from thin air what you'd like to do. So any place where it's actually a limited number of options, we've created those options for you, and that way it's just a series of multiple choice. We are going to review this with you. So let's say there are some questions here that just, they feel a little, you just are not sure how to answer them. This is not a pressured situation. We don't want you to just forge it alone. Come in with anything that you're not sure of, and we absolutely help you work through and get 100% of these questions answered. So I'll just keep kind of giving you a little preview of the rest of them. We cover the bar service, any technical needs relating to band or DJ, specifics to make sure we're not just hosting you on your wedding day, we're also hosting all of your guests. So we'd like to know if somebody needs some special accommodation, we'd love to know about that in advance because we'd love to make sure that we're prepared for them. If there's something that feels like it doesn't fit within the confines of this planner, you can just use this cell 204. Don't commit 204 to memory because I'll add one question and it'll become 205. But around 204, this is the place where you can park anything that didn't feel like it had a spot in the rest of the planner. Here are a few reminders and a few decorating notes, and that is the entirety of this page of the document. The only other parts that are really specific that are required so that we can be prepared for your day is planning your floor plans. So we've got ceremony, floor plan options, and you essentially look at these and kind of pick which one fits closest to what you're interested in. And then we actually customize these and we drop them into your selected floor plan tab. So right now there's nothing in there because this is a blank. But once we get all of that information from your online planner, we then build your custom floor plan and drop it in here, and then we get rid of those other two tabs. And now all of your vendors, again, and all of your decorating helpers, anyone that needs to see what is the visual rendering of what my day is going to look like can see it right here. You've also got the bar calculator. Susie's going to cover that with you briefly. And then there are all these amazing tabs that go along. These are for your benefit. If they're helpful, dive in, use them. If they're not, we are not going to ask you for any of the details relating to any of them. You've got a guest list. You've got possible table assignments, your wedding day schedule, maybe a packing list.